Today is Monday, January 20. I'm Pastor Anthony, and this is Wilderness Wanderings. Today our text comes from Hebrews 11. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land, like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. That's Hebrews 11, verses 8 through 10. Without exaggerating too much, this more or less feels like my life right now, except for the inheritance part. All of this as we prepare to follow the call to Orillia. The text says he obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going, like a stranger in a foreign country. Of course, there is also something universal in the story of Abraham. It is not just a story for pilgrims who happen to be moving house, but for all Christians who journey toward God and the promises he has set before us in Jesus. It is a lifelong journey, the journey of discipleship. It is a journey marked by not knowing entirely where we are going. What will we become when we follow Jesus? What does God call us to do with the few days and limited resources in our possession? Who will we encounter and befriend along the way? We often fear that God will make us do the opposite of what we want. That if we happen to make eye contact with the Almighty and get pressed into His call, that He'll ship us off to some far-flung continent to suffer deplorable conditions as a missionary or something. It happened to Abraham, after all, and to Femke and I, too. But this notion misunderstands something about our God. Does He sometimes call us to do hard things? Sure, you bet He does. But God just as often works with our desires as against them. Indeed, the journey of the Christian life is a journey of purifying and refining our desires. God placed desires in the human heart so that we might desire Him and His good gifts. When lived well, the journey of our Christian lives bends our desires increasingly toward God, to the point where we may begin to trust those desires to lead us home. In the example of Abraham, he made his home in the promised land. But despite arriving in this good place of God's calling, the promised land always pointed beyond itself, to the city with foundations whose architect and builder is God. So Abraham lived always as a stranger in a foreign country, not because he had no claim on the land on which he lived, but because his true home was always with God. This is perhaps a strange thing to wrap our heads around, but it's true for us as well. Whether one rents, tents, or owns a house and cottage, we too are not but strangers in a foreign country. Why? Because our true home is not here at all, but with God in Christ. He is the one to whom we belong. Home is the place of rest we will know with Him when this earth and its heaven are made new, and we see Him at last as He is, face to face. Until then, we journey forward in faith, trusting that the one who made the promise is faithful and will provide everything needful until at long last He brings us home. As you journey on, go with His blessing. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you wherever He may send you. May He guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storms. May He bring you home rejoicing at the wonders He has shown you. May He bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors.